Welcome to WordForge. My name's Kevin. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the first story I wrote. Unfortunately, as a kid, I did not keep it. But it's an interesting tale, so let's dive into it. Okay, so to kind of briefly summarize this, I got the idea that I wanted to be a writer when I was reading some Goosebump books. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but that's what inspired me. Went to my parents, they got me some notebooks and pencil, and thus no YouTube at the time, no how-to books, nothing of that nature. I would spend an hour or two or more coming up with a title, and then I would just start writing. Now, I had written a total about 5 chapters in this my version of Goosebump books, which I don't remember what I called the series title, but the first book I had planned was called The Awful Pumpkin Patch. Now, with that being said, the easiest way to describe this is The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, Goosebumps by R.L. Stine, meets Halloween. What's interesting about this is I had taken this 5 chapters I had written to school. I was really excited about it. Showed it to my teacher. I think she read about the first chapter or the first few pages. And she stops and she looks at me and she's all, "Who's your target audience?" Now remember, no YouTube, no how-to books. I just went into this thinking, so you understand, I wanted to be a police officer at the time. I no longer want to be a police officer now. I want to be a writer. I did not associate this idea. I looked at a writer as no different than my dad going to work. It was a job in my eyes as a kid. I also did not fathom this idea of target audience and that what I had written more than likely wouldn't have been accepted as a middle grade story. I just looked at her and I was like, well, it's for someone like me. She's all, well, the title of your book, The Awful Pumpkin Patch, definitely says for someone like you. But what you wrote is more for someone like me. And like I said, imagine a scarecrow going around Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers style. That's what I had written. Now, you might be curious as to why I had written such things. Well, my mom watched a lot of horror at the time. And we were allowed to watch horror films. In fact, you think about any major horror film, I saw it before I was 12 years old. Of course, when there was any kind of kissy, lovey-dovey stuff, more than kissing, lovey-dovey stuff, Mom always had us, close our eyes. If she knew the movie, they were making sounds along with the lovey-dovey stuff. She'd make us turn around and cover our ears and to look at her. And then she would tell us when we could continue watching. So she wasn't bothered by us watching horror in the sense of, killing blood, that kind of thing. She was preventative when things got a little too naked. This also included just topless stuff. Close your eyes. She'd seen these movies before, so she was ready to go, like, close your eyes. You don't need to see this, that kind of thing. When we became a teenager, that kind of went out of the door, which to me made sense because I'd already had, stuff like sex education, so we were well aware of what was going on. And that's when she was a little more lenient in that retrospect. But, going back, I had never once even thought or pondered the idea of a target audience. I had sat there and was like, I associated it as being a kid. Well, I'm allowed to read Goosebump books. I'm allowed to watch these movies. I'm sure other kids are. That was my thinking. Naive. I was so naive in this prospect that the next month was Halloween. This is my naivety. I was like, I will write this book, get it done, and it can be on bookshelves before Halloween. Oh, how way incorrect I was. Now, the sad outcome of this is that she really didn't criticize my writing. It was just purely target audience, and what I had written was more for an adult. And unironically, this did discourage me to the point to where I actually stopped working on the short story. In fact, I think I tore the pages out of the notebook and I threw it away because I was like, this is a failed attempt. Unfortunately, I do kind of wish I would have kept them, mostly because I could read it right here, right now. And it would give me the ability to maybe I could kind of take that idea and rework it with the knowledge that I have now into an actual middle grade story. But unfortunately, as a kid, I didn't keep a lot of the stuff I had written, and I didn't keep a good condition of, unironically, my sketchbook that I also had at the time. That's all there is to this. Not much to it. I pretty much wrote a scarecrow who goes around killing, mind you, replace teenagers with middle grade students, and they having a bad day. All right. Oh, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video in some fashion or form. And remember, readers and writers, what are you doing here for? You should be forging.